Hello, everyone. It's Tuesday again. I'm Mark Miller, and this is my weekly video update sharing insights and advice about public relations and communications. As always, if you have questions or you'd like to learn more about my services, you can find me at markmillerpr.com. Have you ever heard the phrases, "they just don't get it," when referring to your public audience? Or, "if they understood, they would see our perspective"? Have you said these things yourself? I have, at least on one or two occasions. We have to remember that when engaged in public communication, your audience doesn't always receive the message in the way that you intended it, or they don't always receive the information that you intended to deliver. We have to remember that communication occurs on the listener's terms. That's right. I'll say that again. Communication occurs on the listener's terms. So whatever they've heard, absorbed, and taken away from what you've communicated, that's the communication that occurred. You don't get to negotiate that. The listener is going to take away what they take away. And that's true when you're communicating through the media, over social media, on your own platforms, on your website. The method, in this case, for the point I'm making, doesn't matter as much as the fact that your audience is going to take away the message they're going to take away. So how do you know when that's occurring? And there are a few key indicators. Sometimes the audience just isn't taking the action that you wanted them to. There should always be a call to action when you're communicating, and we've talked about that before. So if your audience isn't taking that action, or they're resisting that, or maybe there's no engagement at all, they're just not really paying attention, you haven't gotten their attention, these are signs that your audience isn't receiving the message in the same way that you intended it. And another sign that disconnect has occurred is that your words actually create, your words or your other forms of communication have created a negative reaction. Instead of taking the action that you asked your audience or your listeners to take, they've actually gone and done the opposite, or acted against it, or taken offense to what you've said. So that's a clear indicator that you didn't reach your audience with the same message that you intended. But the other two, with just not taking the action or not engaging at all, those are more subtle ways to tell that maybe what the message you've sent isn't the message being received. So how do we solve this? Well, this one is quick and easy. A lot of times I give you a bulleted 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 ways to solve an issue. In this particular case, there's really only one solution, and that's soliciting feedback from others. You will often hear the message that you intend in your own work, whether it's a written piece, a spoken video, whatever, audio only, whatever the means of communication, you are going to hear the message that you intended. When you solicit feedback from others, that's when you start to see, well, I might have taken that message this way, or, hey, I get what you're trying to say, but you do realize people could interpret that differently, right? So soliciting feedback from others, friends, colleagues, coworkers, whoever it might be, remember that that's the best way to make sure that your message is really going to be received the way you intended, is by bouncing that off of others. Be aware of groupthink as well. If you run your ideas by a bunch of people that are just like you, then they'll probably hear the message the same way you intend it. Seek out people who most closely match those in your audience, and that you think might be able to provide you some feedback that you're not seeing yourself. So that's it. If you find yourself saying, "Hey, they don't get it. If they only understood, they would agree with my perspective," just remember, your audience may not be receiving the same message that you're sending, and to check with others, engage in that proofreading, and solicit feedback. So that's all I've got for today. Remember, if you need any assistance or need to learn more about my services, you can find me and reach me at markmillerpr.com. Have a great day, everyone.